Proposition 64, Marijuana Legalization, Initiative Statute. Plain language, legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana. What does it do? It legalizes marijuana for adults 21 and older. It designates state agencies to license and regulate the marijuana industry. It allows local regulation and taxation of marijuana. It imposes taxes on marijuana sale and cultivation. It exempts medical marijuana from some taxation. It creates laws about the packaging, labeling, advertising, and marketing of marijuana. In 1996, voters approved Prop 215 legalizing medical marijuana in California. But other than that, marijuana has been mostly illegal here. Some people drink marijuana in beverages or apply it topically via lotion, but most people smoke it, vape it, or eat it. Currently, there are a variety of agencies that regulate and tax the medical marijuana industry. It brings in tens of millions of dollars in taxes each year. Even though medical marijuana is legal here, and we are voting to legalize recreational marijuana, it doesn't change the fact that it's still illegal under federal law and will remain so regardless. However, as it stands, the federal government has elected not to prosecute most users and sellers that don't promote marijuana to minors or engage in interstate marijuana transportation. Long story, kind of, somewhat shorter. Prop 64 legalizes recreational marijuana for adults 21 and older. Legalize means smoking marijuana in a private home or at a business licensed for on-site marijuana consumption, possessing up to an ounce of marijuana, growing up to 6 plants in a private home, giving marijuana away to other adults, but only up to 1 ounce or just 8 grams for concentrated marijuana. It would still be illegal to smoke marijuana while driving or in public, possess marijuana on school grounds, daycare centers, or youth centers while children are present, or running a marijuana business within 600 feet of them, growing it in an area that is unlocked or visible from a public place, providing marijuana to people under 21, selling marijuana where tobacco or alcohol are sold, and consuming marijuana in the presence or sight of someone under 21. It creates a system for regulating and taxing marijuana. Basically, the agencies that regulate medical marijuana will be expanding their domain to regulate non-medical marijuana. Marijuana businesses would also be subject to local regulations and could be banned altogether by cities and counties, though they could not ban the transportation of marijuana through their jurisdictions. Taxation. This is a very messy part of the proposition. If you want to get down and dirty with the numbers and details, I'm going to refer you to the handbook because all that junk would make this video far too long. So for our purposes, let's note that this involves a 15% tax on marijuana retail sales and state cultivation taxes of $9.25 per ounce of flowers and $2.75 per ounce of leaves. This will eventually rise with inflation. Where does the money go? Well, it will go to what will be the newly created California Marijuana Tax Fund, where the revenues are always high. Okay, I added that last part. The California Marijuana Tax Fund, where the bank accounts are always loaded. The California Marijuana Tax Fund, California's money joint. Okay, fine, just the California Marijuana Tax Fund. By the way, did I mention I give excellent marketing advice? But anyway, where does all this money go? Some would go back into the marijuana regulatory system, and the rest would be divided as such. 60% for youth programs, including substance abuse disorder education, prevention, and treatment. 20% to clean up and prevent environmental damage resulting from the illegal growing of marijuana. 20% for programs designed to reduce driving under the influence of alcohol, marijuana, and other drugs, and reduce any potential negative impacts on public safety or health resulting from this measure. Finally, Prop 64 changes the penalties for medical marijuana-related crimes. Minors caught using marijuana would be required to attend drug educational or counseling programs and complete community service instead of paying a $100 fine. Selling marijuana without a license would be punishable by up to 6 months in county jail and/or a fine of up to $400 instead of up to 4 years in jail or prison. Individuals engaging in any marijuana business activity without a license would be subject to a penalty of up to 3 times the amount of the license fee for each violation. Prop 64 also requires the destruction, within 2 years, of criminal records for individuals arrested or convicted for certain marijuana-related offenses. Also, individuals currently serving sentences for marijuana activities would be resentenced in accordance with this proposition. However, a court would not be required to resentence someone if it determines that the person is likely to commit certain severe crimes. Moreover, resentenced individuals currently in jail or prison would be subject to community supervision, such as probation, for up to 1 year following their release, unless a court removes that requirement. In addition, individuals who have completed sentences for crimes that would be reduced by Prop 64 could apply to the courts to have their criminal records changed. Fiscal impact. The fiscal impact of Prop 64 would depend on how state and local governments regulated marijuana, whether or not the federal government chooses to continue turning a blind eye to marijuana use in California or start prosecuting, and how the legalization of marijuana affects its market price. But it seems that we're looking at annual revenues of hundreds of millions of dollars to possibly over $1 billion in state and local revenues, in addition to annual savings of tens of millions of dollars due to a decline in marijuana-related incarcerations. Before we continue, this quick message. Hello, beloved viewer. The Daryl Johnson Show needs your help. It takes so much time and energy to do these videos, I don't really have much left over for promotion and the like, but I would be endlessly grateful if you take a moment to post, message, tweet, email, Tumblr, link, Instagram, or plus my YouTube page or any of my videos and get the word out. An informed California is a happy California, and I'd appreciate your help on that. Even liking my videos here on YouTube goes a long way. Thank you very much, and now... From Yes on Prop 64. Proposition 64 finally creates a safe, legal, and comprehensive system for adult use of marijuana while protecting our children. Marijuana is available nearly everywhere in California, but without any protections for children, without assurances for product safety, and without generating tax revenue for the state. The Independent Legislative Analyst Office found that Prop 64 will both raise revenue and decrease costs. By collecting unpaid taxes from marijuana, it will bring in over $1 billion of revenue every year to help California. And it could save tens of millions of dollars annually and reduce law enforcement costs. Together, that is a benefit of $11 billion over the next decade that will go towards programs for kids and teens. Every year, there are more than 8,800 felony arrests for growing or selling marijuana in California, resulting in some very long prison sentences. This is an enormous waste of law enforcement resources. Prop 64 will stop ruining people's lives from marijuana. Drug dealers don't ask for proof of age, and today can sell marijuana laced with dangerous drugs and chemicals. Prop 64 includes the toughest in the nation protections for children, requiring purchasers to be 21, banning advertising directed at children, and requiring clear labeling and independent product testing to ensure safety. Prop 64 prohibits marijuana businesses next to schools. Contrary to what the opposition is saying, some evidence shows that states with legalized marijuana have less youth marijuana use. It has not been definitively proven that impaired driving has increased in states with legalized marijuana, and nothing in Prop 64 makes it legal to show marijuana ads on TV. Federal law prohibits it. From No on Prop 64. There are 5 huge flaws in Proposition 64 that directly affect you and the people you care about. Flaw number 1, doubling of highway fatalities. The AAA Foundation for Highway Safety reports that deaths and marijuana-related car crashes have doubled since the state of Washington approved legalization. Yet incredibly, Proposition 64's proponents refuse to include a DUI standard for marijuana, making it extremely difficult to keep impaired drivers off our highways. Flaw number 2, it allows marijuana growing near schools and parks. Proposition 64 actually forbids local governments from banning indoor residential growing of marijuana, even next door to an elementary school, provided that the crop is limited to 6 plants, and that is a lot of marijuana. The California Police Chiefs Association adds that by permitting indoor cultivation of marijuana literally next door to elementary schools and playgrounds, Proposition 64 is trampling local control. Flaw number 3, it will increase, not decrease, black market and drug cartel activity. Organized crime filings have skyrocketed in Colorado since marijuana legalization, says past president of the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police, John Jackson. We had 1 filing in 2007, and by 2015, we had 40. Since your Proposition 64 repeals the prohibition on heroin and meth dealers with felony convictions getting into the legal marijuana business, it could be much worse in California. Flaw number 4, it could roll back the total prohibition of smoking ads on TV. Proposition 64, in effect, could limit a 45-year ban on smoking ads on television, allowing marijuana ads airing to millions of children and teen viewers. These ads can appear during the Olympics, on The Voice, The Big Bang Theory, and hundreds of other programs popular with younger viewers. Flaw number 5. Proposition 64 is an all-out assault on underprivileged neighborhoods already reeling from alcohol and drug addiction problems. Bishop Ron Allen of the International Faith-Based Coalition representing 5,000 inner-city churches calls Proposition 64 an attack on minorities and asks, "Why are there no limits on the number of pot shops that can be opened in poor neighborhoods? We will now have a string of pot shops to go with the 2 liquor stores on every block, but we still can't get a grocery store. Proposition 64 will make every parent's job tougher." In short, Proposition 64 is radically different from legalization measures in other states and may weaken countless consumer protections just passed last year and signed into law by Governor Brown. So we have another sequel here to go along with the Hollywood trend. The marijuana lobby has sobered up again since the Daryl Johnson Show covered their 2010 attempt, affectionately remembered as Proposition 19. So I guess we got to pass this before they fly back up to the moon for another few years and then sober up and come back down with Prop 94, legalize marijuana for California, because they're obviously not going to quit. So, last time when we went through this, I was a little split, but I ended up voting no because I didn't like some of the extra frosting they put on Prop 19 in addition to legalizing marijuana. This time I'm still split, but less so. I've actually talked to an education professional in Smoke It Up, Colorado, and he did confirm off the record that the number of kids showing up to school stoned is indeed higher. And if we legalize this, I really do believe this will have the same devastating effects of tobacco, alcohol, and fast food, frankly. Where I'm conflicted is what's the difference between tobacco, alcohol, fast food, and marijuana? How is it worse? You could make that case for cocaine, meth, heroin a lot more easily, but I get the impression that it's only seen as worse because it's illegal. Because people are going to do it anyway is not an inspiring argument to me. People will continue to do a number of things that we haven't legalized, but it doesn't mean we should just swing open the gates and legalize theft, rape, and assault. Moreover, I don't like the smell of pot. It's annoying. And stoners, they're annoying. But I just can't find a reason that the government should interfere differently with marijuana than any of the other things that seem to go in the same category. I think if a politician came up with a brilliant law to legalize artificial stimulants that impact the nervous system, and there was an epidemic of college students using it so they could spend more time studying and doing homework, many outraged Californians would be like, "No, we got to vote against this." But if he called it coffee, then everyone would say, "Oh, well, never mind, that's okay," because we're just used to that, so it's not a problem. So I think I'm going to have to vote yes on this, not because I want it to happen, but because I just don't find a constitutional justification to impose my preference on the state. And where there is uncertainty, I think it's American to choose liberty, but not personally. Personally, I think it's better to only take calculated and careful risks, but politically, when making laws, it's American to choose liberty. In America, you have the freedom to make your dreams come true, and in America, you have the freedom to destroy yourself. If you vote yes on Prop 64, you are voting to legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana in California, ignoring federal law. If you vote no on this, you are voting to keep things the same, with only medical marijuana being legal in California. The Daryl Johnson Show says yes on Prop 64.